Hello, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. It's really great to be with you all. And today we have Aanshi Desai, who's calling in from Barcelona. And as you can see there, we have some awesome folks coming up in the next couple of weeks. You might have seen there that for the 14th of April, we're still looking for a community member to join us. So please do head over to the platform in the marketplace and sign up if you are part of the OpenExO community. And before Aanshi comes up on stage, I do just have this from Anne Riley, who just said, it's great having Aanshi as part of the Barcelona EXO community. She's a Sprint alumni, so she's lived the EXO framework. Likewise, she applies the mindset in her work and personal projects. I'm excited to see what Aanshi does in the future, as I know it will be exciting and purposeful. And so with that, I want to just welcome up Aanshi. Aanshi, how are you doing this evening in Barcelona?
Hey, Kevin. I'm doing good. Nice to meet you. And thank you so much, Anne, for those lovely words. Was nice to meet you in Barcelona and looking forward to meeting her again.
Awesome. Yeah, we actually, as OpenExO, at the end of July, we're working with the Festival of Consciousness that's going to be happening in Barcelona. Anne actually is a part of the team there too. So really looking forward to potentially meeting people in person again, which it's been a very long time. So that's really cool. So Aanshi, can you just let everyone who's watching know, tell us a little bit about you, about yourself, and your road into joining the OpenExO community?
Sure. So, hello, everyone. I'm Anshi from India. I live in Barcelona. It's been 6 years that I moved here and loving the city. I'm passionate about new trends in technology and how it disrupts business. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm part of this community. Um, about me, so at the moment, I'm the co-founder of La Voga. It's a sustainable fashion startup. Um, I will tell you more about it, but a bit more about about my EXO journey. I think it started in 2017, where I was working in HP, and it was an awake session, if I'm not mistaken, from Salim. And he had come to the HP campus, and he gave us this amazing awake session. And we didn't know anything about EXO. It was just that session that kind of really woke us up, and we're like, okay, we were kind of living in a bubble that he burst that because you're working in an industry for a long time and you become industry experts, but then you realize that there are a lot of things happening outside that someone just told you about, and you had no clue. You may just have heard about things, but you didn't think of how it could affect your business and affect your industry. So that kind of was like at that shocking point that we I was introduced to the EXO concept. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of like the sprint, like a sprint participant, um, in one of the edge teams that we tested out in HB. And yeah, that's kind of how my EXO journey began. And yeah, looking forward to continuing and exploring more things with the community.
Awesome. I was having a chat with Mihal Manit, and I think he might have been the coach of your team.
Yes.
Um, and he was saying, yeah, I remember, and it was a while back, so I don't know if I can share something now. But he was like, he can remember that was a team of like young people, inspiring, like really looking at crazy things that they could do. So as a participant on a sprint, what would you sort of say were like the big changes you sort of noticed? I guess like pre and post sprint, like what did those 10 weeks do to you?
So, first of all, those 10 weeks were the best thing that happened to me in my time in HP. Um, and coming back to, as you were mentioning, that we were actually an edge team of people who were less than 1 year into the company. So they wanted a team where we weren't corrupted by by the immune system. So we didn't know what had been done in the past. We didn't know
Mm.
much about the industry. We were so new, that we had more freedom to just think and didn't have that much of boundaries of, because
Yeah.
when you're a lot of time in the company, you know like, oh, we did this in the past, we couldn't do it because XYZ reason. But we just didn't know anything, and we had to, like, it was amazing. And we were called, like, we were the team of millennials. And yeah, it was amazing. And I mean, initially when we started off the sprint, we knew that it was a 10-week sprint and there was a lot of changes going to happen. But honestly speaking, before starting the print, let's say, we all just thought that, okay, it's like something that we're going to do, let's see where it takes us. But you don't have that much of expectations. But you could, like, in 10 weeks, I mean, not in just 10 weeks, maybe in the fourth week already, you could see so much change already happening. Even the higher up members were so surprised that we came up with such amazing ideas. They already, were thinking like, wow, maybe we should, give this innovation culture a bit more push. Before anything that we wanted to, change in HP, like any even a feature to be added, had to go through like a business plan, so much of like convincing higher up management. And it would take years to get implemented. But with this whole EXO 10-week sprint, we literally even we almost started a startup, in the company. And like, and it the like autonomy, giving people, that freedom of experimentation, freedom of failing fast. And we just don't have to give like business plans and numbers every time, but let's test it out, like take a small group. If it doesn't work, come back. So that was the whole culture, like the mindset shift that happened post the sprint. And not just for the sprint participants, but it, for everybody, because they noticed that this was
Mm.
going on. And that's the major change that I saw that started off in HP, and it's still going on, because I still talk to my colleagues. And it started with the large format team, but now they're moving to other teams, and like now even with 3D printing. So it's something
Mm.
that started off as a small test, and now it rolled out, and now the whole company has changed much more. And I've seen it grow so fast in just a few, like, small amount of time. So in general, it was a great experience for me itself to be a sprint participant. And in general for the company, I think it was just amazing to see such a big company change so fast. So yeah.
Mm. No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it is something that a lot of people just can't believe, right? Which does make it quite difficult to convince people to actually do this. But that's a whole other story. And so, since doing that, you joined the community. And I know that you were sponsored to go through the consultant certification. How was that process, and what were sort of the learnings from that, tied with what you also learned as a participant on the sprint?
Yeah. So first of all, it was amazing to be sponsored to be like an EXO consultant. Thank you, Vanessa. And
Absolutely.
yeah, like being already a sprint participant, it was already great because I had that insight. So not just being an
Yeah.
external consultant, I had like, okay, what happens when someone goes through the sprint? So it already gave me that extra edge, I would say. And also, I took, like, I think 4 years of gap between being a sprint participant and my consulting program. Not because of any reason, but I thought that I needed some experience to be a consultant. So not just being a
Mm.
sprint participant, but gathering industry, but working in different companies, in startups. Then I felt I was more confident to start being a consultant myself, to be
Yes.
able to have that experience. And my journey itself in the certification program, firstly, an amazing coach like Yaroslav was amazing. Secondly, it's unlike other certification programs that I've done. It's very practical, because the beginning of the course you start working with a client. So you are actually consulting from day one. And it's not like just watching videos and theories. It's actually consulting a client. And each week you're doing different types of consulting with that same client, and even the meetings that we have with the coach were also like discussions of our learnings from the client, and we would get some feedback. So I didn't feel like it was like something I had to study. It was actually like 90% practical and maybe 10% like, yes, we had resources to go through, and that would actually just help us being a better consultant. But honestly speaking, it's one of the best certification program that I've ever taken, that actually it's actually telling me like how to consult, and not just, here's a video and you can learn 10 tips to consulting and anybody can do it. But this is just one of the most amazing thing about the community, that you start with a client, and that's the best thing you can offer in a course.
No, absolutely. I mean, the idea of actually learning by doing is so important, and also it it's a lot more engaging, right? Than as you say, just here's here's some information to watch and figure it out on your own, perhaps. Now, like you said, you've done quite a few things since being a sprint participant, for example. But right now, you you are part of a startup, a co-founder, as far as I understand. Can you tell us a little bit about that startup?
Yeah, sure. So the startup is Lavoga, and it just started off during COVID, from like me and my co-founder, who's also my friend. When the lockdown hit, we initially were planning to do something else, but because of lockdown, we put a pause on that, and we just started off as a nonprofit initiative because we were home and everyone had time in hands. um, and we saw like all the shops in Barcelona were shut down, so we said like, let's help them. So we just started more like a non-profit, like having like a little online presence for the little shops in Barcelona who were like, locked down, and where people could buy prepaid vouchers that they could redeem when the shops would open up, so just to help them with the cash flow. That kind of post lockdown turned into a business model, because you were like, okay, why not do something about it, and we love the idea of helping small businesses. So it kind of transformed into a sustainable fashion marketplace, because one of the pain points that we understood was that they wanted to sell online and they had really low online presence. So that's kind of how the journey started of Lavoga. And yeah, we have around 80 brands, like sustainable fashion brands from Europe, which we have on the platform. And coming to, while I was doing my EXO consultant training, I
Mm.
wanted to actually, see like, how can this be more EXO, because it's a marketplace now. Initially, marketplaces were considered EXO because it's a marketplace, you don't have inventory, but it's everybody's doing it. So we wanted to be something different. Like, how can we scale it up even bigger? We also went through an accelerator program, and we did a mini sprint exercise. So what I learned from the EXO consulting, we kind of like did the mini, not a 10-week sprint, but a mini sprint, I would say. And
Yes.
we said like, okay, so what can we do? We have this already up and running. My background is from technology, so I'm an engineer. So is my co-founder. So we wanted to do something with tech and fashion, and like, with all the sprints that came out with market validation and all of that, we transformed this idea of a sustainable fashion marketplace, into incorporating blockchain into it. So now we're actually building the product, and we're naming it Metavoga. So it's digital fashion for the metaverse. So basically, it is still like it's a marketplace for digital fashion. So people don't need to even buy physical clothes. So like, going to the next step of sustainability, that do you even need so many clothes? Maybe you want to show off for a party, you could just wear a digital outfit, and augment it on yourself, or your avatar in the metaverse can wear it. So that's kind of where we're at now, and we're building the product as I speak. In 2 weeks, we're doing like a beta launch of the product, and that's kind of where we transformed into. I would say like EXO really helped me transform into like
Yeah.
a really good business model with something that I like, which is also something that is coming new, which is disrupting the fashion business as well. Like with COVID already, so many things changed. Before, when you would see like designers, they would be in an atelier making it by hand. With COVID, nobody could go to the ateliers, everything was shut. So everyone started designing clothes 3D online, and that's already starting to happen. So we're like, let's tap into this. And you don't even need to produce till maybe someone's buying it. Let's try to get into digital fashion, and maybe if someone wants to buy it, they can then make a purchase to connect in the physical platform with that. So now we have, like, two things, which is Lavoga and Metavoga. And yeah, that's, I hope I explained it well, but that's kind of where we're
No,
going at.
absolutely. For those people who are watching that perhaps are not millennials, might be thinking, who's buying digital fashion? Uh, the same people who are buying a lot of digital real estate for large sums of money in multiple metaverses. So, I mean, the obviously the the question on my mind just around Metavoga is is the I guess the interoperability of that, right? That's really where the the whole sort of future around metaverse is. It really sucks that you might be in one metaverse where you build something up and then it's stuck inside of that metaverse, and you can't then port it on to another one. And so it's that's really exciting, to see, and also great to hear how you have sort of incorporated that learning, looking at the EXO attributes, but then also looking at the different technologies, right? But it's not necessarily only about the technologies, but also about the actual attributes. And what would you say is the MTP for Lavoga Metavoga? Same MTP? Is there something different there?
So at the moment, I'm trying to formulate our MDP for Metavoga, but for Lavoga, well, like, in fact, like Grupo Lavoga, because the company name is Grupo Lavoga, and we have the two
Mm.
products.
Yes.
Like, our MTP is enabling local brand reach global audiences, and and with that, it fills in for both. But it's something that, for me, the main thing is to be that stepping stone for that independent brand, to get that little exposure, one on the physical side online, and as well as digitally on the metaverse. Because when there's a hype in the metaverse, of course, you have these big brands like Gucci and Prada there. But what happens to
Exactly.
the smaller artists? They're like so lost. They don't know what is blockchain, or they know it's there, but they don't know how to enter. So, like, one of the value proposition for Metavoga is that we want to make it so easy to enter the metaverse that they're just uploading a 3D file, and we're doing everything in the back end. So
Yes.
we're not
Yes.
asking them choose the blockchain or choose the metaverse. No, we're just saying upload your 3D file, because that's what they are good at, and the rest is us. So,
Mm.
that's our value prop for Metavoga, that we want to be like their first entry point to the metaverse.
Yeah, that's really really awesome, because I'm lucky enough to have traveled quite a bit, and no matter what city you go to, there's always a number of small designers, um, that are have like, maybe even sometimes it's just like 1,000 fans, right? And you can actually run a fairly decent business just with 1,000 fans. But now, if you can actually you know expand those 1,000 fans digitally or through a marketplace globally, it really changes the game. Do you find, though, that the people that are really local don't believe that they can actually also be global, or don't have those aspirations, or are people really hungry to try and tap into something bigger than just what they're currently doing?
So this has changed a lot pre and post COVID, I have to say, because,
Mm.
like, pre COVID, for example, um, brands were happy with the way things were going because maybe they had a shop, or like locally, people were buying a lot and things were working really well. But the minute COVID hit, it just disrupted the whole business model, because now there were no tourists, because that was like maybe one of their top incomes.
Yes.
So they had to move to like a different audience. Like sometimes, they've already tapped into that local market, that they cannot go beyond it. So
Mm.
they need to, to do something next, like they want to go beyond it. So there is the need, but there's, it's sometimes when it's a small business, it's an or independent brand, there's just one or two people behind the whole brand, so you
Mm.
cannot expect two people to do everything, right? So
Yeah.
they're also designing, they're making the clothes, they're the salespeople, they're the marketing experts, they're doing everything. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of added work, that they're not actually businessmen, they're actually designers. So
Yeah.
you know that's the thing, that they do have that aspiration. um, and then the other thing, like we face with, especially with physical fashion, is, of course, shipping, which is like the biggest issue. And with digital fashion, you're not restricted to shipping and customs, and like now with Brexit, I like shipping to UK costs like import duties maybe. So
Mm.
like, there's a lot of things that come into place when it comes to digital fashion, that your whole audience is global. You're not, I'm only
Yeah.
shipping to this and not like maybe Canary Islands, because it's too expensive to ship there. So it just changes the whole way of you reaching out to audiences, and you don't really care now where they are from, as long as they're buying your digital outfit.
Absolutely. Anshi, it's really, really, really interesting, and really looking forward to seeing where it goes. Please do share, do share with within the OpenExO community too. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who would be really interesting in sharing what you're doing, and also getting to understand. So as we end off today, I always like to ask people, like, what is that one thing that you would like to share with the viewers that are watching this and watching the recording?
Yeah, like one thing that I've learned is, when things are going well, is the time to start thinking what, to do next. Because what I realized, that, with interviewing a lot of artists, is that the things were going well and they were sitting back and relaxing and enjoying. And that's when, COVID hit, and like it just changed the whole business model and everything. So when things are going really well is the time you should already start thinking of, okay, what could possibly go wrong, or like what could I do better, and and try to be more, I would say, proactive than reactive to external forces or factors that could, come into place. So this is like one of my learning that I had. So, yeah, that's what I would like to tell the audience.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Really great chatting to you. Have a fantastic evening, and a great weekend coming up.
Likewise, and thank you.
It's more than a pleasure. Cheers, Anshi.
Bye.
So great having Anshi on OpenExO Live and hearing about her startup. So do go and search for it. Check it out. Look it up. Really excited to see how that moves forward. We're going to end today's OpenExO Live just with a video about exponential organizations, the new book that's coming out at the end of April. You can pre-order your digital copy now. Thanks so much. We'll see you all again next week.